All right, part three. So now I'm going to be talking about my approach on marketing the fund. So, and part one, I talked about, the inspiration of me starting a creative investment fund in my background. Part two, I talked about the Renaissance and how that inspired me to start thinking about branding this investment fund. And then part three is me talking about the actual marketing approach. So now that I understood, okay, the Renaissance is the main source of inspiration and how we got the name the Agora Fund, now I was like, how am I going to get people on board to this thing? I have the concept, I have the plan, now I just need the platform. And I've talked about this in other older videos, but I've taken sales jobs, and I always recommend that people should take a sales job because you will literally not regret it. It will build you up and make you greater. And I actually did this in our investment fund, just because I was like, I need to understand what the hesitation is with other managing directors, managing partners, GPs, investors, you name it, trying to see where the pain points were. Because I understood how the creative spaces in film, fashion, art can come off and be conveyed to those in the more everyday person, but I didn't know how to pitch this really to traditional investors. So I'd sit on the phone, I'd 800 dials, right? And then eventually I learned that the biggest driver and the biggest reason why traditional investors are a little shaky and they're a little hesitant is because they literally said, I do not understand art. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand how you value something. I don't understand that world. So that was my in. I knew that more traditional investors typically subscribe to what Warren Buffett says of invest in what you know, and that's not bad advice, but I knew I was fighting, or rather facing, a little bit of an uphill battle in that regard. So I was going to use social media as the strategy because I am also proving through my ventures, because there's another one in the background, through my ventures that you do not need a ton of money to get started. You just need to start and the people will come, and it's also just a way to think outside the box a little bit. And so I thought about the things that I A, like to do, B, am really good at, and C, would be really helpful in kind of solidifying that A, what I'm bringing to market is real and legitimate, and B, to solidify the fact that I am quite literally the best person to do this and to boost investor confidence in that way. So I was like, I'm going to create a series where I talk about art, hence the Safe Space Salon series, and hence why you have that incredible hook. The Renaissance had its patrons, the Agora Fund is building its own, and I just get to talk about the art world, the art market, and art history, and what we kind of look at in that space. Just a little hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That series will also be expanded out to other industries, but I'm starting with art. And I love telling and educating people about topics I find interesting and I really love, and so that's why I am doing it through a more educational lens. Also, I get to kind of rewrite again, reframe history and reframe the way we have this conversation, even in that space as well. Because when you set up a creative investment fund, you just tend to touch a lot of industries. And that just invites an interesting journey to disrupt not one, but many industries. It happens when you're setting a new standard, right? So essentially, what I'm doing in this marketing approach is using social media and its various channels to talk about and educate investors and the world at large about these industries and about these spaces, and really be that representation I wish I had. Because the other thing I didn't really touch on in the first part was I spent a lot of time going to museums and galleries my entire life, just because my parents didn't have financially a lot to go on these lavish vacations. But they fundamentally understood that you needed to understand the world around you and understand other people, places, and cultures, and you don't need money to do that. You just need to go to a museum, a gallery, or a library. Also, just have to throw in there, I am the proud child of public educators. So me doing those series are also just me giving back to the industry, so the creative space in the arts and culture space, in a way that I see fit, because that world essentially has always loved me unconditionally, whether the industry knew it or not, and it was really the reason why I am as successful as I am and will continue to be, because the library, it's the reason why I'm so good, y'all. Education and information is always available. You don't need to go to a fancy private school. You just need to knock in and read a book. But let me stop being cheeky. But this is just my love letter back to that space. So being an educator online is just me paying it forward in a different way as well. Because who knows, maybe I'm inspiring somebody else that creates something the world has quite literally never seen and is better off with.